Hi, my name's Caroline Gladwin. I'm a sales consultant in the UK HCM team. The purpose of this recording is to show you how to use some new talent review reports that we've created for you. Unfortunately, these reports aren't that straightforward in terms of just cutting and pasting the code and they'll work straight away. So that's the reason for this recording, to show you how to bring the reports into your own environment and also to do the small amount of configuration that's required to allow it to report against your own talent review and the setup that you've created. So the first thing you'll need to do is to be logged in to the Answers interface to Oracle BI within your Fusion environment. Just to mention that these reports won't work in Composer, so you'd need to be working within this Answers interface. You need to highlight the custom folder under Shared, and then you need to unarchive the file that's associated with this post on Customer Connect. So there's my talent review catalog. I'm simply going to open that up and then bring that in. And when you've successfully done that, what you'll find is you have a new talent review folder which sits under Shared Custom. If we expand that folder, included within that are two separate subfolders. And there's one report that we've created here which will work straight away, but the layout might not be exactly what you're wanting. And there's a second lot of reports which may be a layout that you would prefer, but require the additional setup steps. So firstly, let's have a look at the simple display and see how that works. So if I expand out the folder called Simple Display Performance versus Potential, you'll see here that we've got a graph and then an associated drill report. So if I first of all open up the Talent Review Graph report, you'll see that the first thing the report asks you to do is to select the talent review meeting that you want to report on. So in my case, I'm going to select the 9-box talent review that I'm interested in, which is the 2014 talent review meeting for Meg Fitzsimmons. Having selected that, the OK button then becomes enabled. Just to mention that you can select multiple meetings at this point, however they do all need to have been based on the same template for the results to make any sense. If I click on OK, then the report runs for that particular talent review meeting, and the information that's returned in this graphical bar chart is the number of reviewees by each of the different performance and potential boxes. Anyone who's ended up in the holding area at the end of the talent review meeting is displayed at the bottom here. As well as showing that information graphically, you can also have a look at it in a tabular view by using the View As option at the top. Here we can see more details behind what happened when the talent review meeting was finished. If we go back to the graph, the other thing that's enabled on this report is the ability to pick any of these bars and drill to the underlying employees. So say for example I'm interested in the 6 employees who ended up in core talent, I can click on that bar and then choose the drill option to say see the employees that were in that box. So here we can see that the drill has passed through the name of the talent review meeting, which box it was, and also an underlying sequence number for that. And as a result it's been able to identify those 6 employees. Now if for any reason the drill report doesn't work when you bring this into your own environment, it's probably because in the catalogue you've unarchived the folder into a different place. Because the way that drill report works is it needs to know where the report is, and obviously if you put this talent review folder somewhere different, then the link to that report will not work anymore. If that's the case in your environment, all you need to do is go and edit this main report and repoint it to wherever you've put your drill report. So that's all you have to do to take advantage of the simple display performance versus potential report. If you want to take advantage of the N-box display reports, which will actually show a kind of 3x3 grid or a 2x2 grid depending on what kind of talent reviews you have, then you need to come into the N-box display folder instead. And these are the reports that require a little bit more setup. So in order to set up a 9-box report, what we're going to do is we're going to use this talent review 9-box example as the starting point. The first thing I need to do is go in and edit this report. Now as you can see, by default this report doesn't return anything, and the instructions below it say to save this template report as a new name and update the filter on the criteria tab to point to your talent review. However, the talent review must use performance and potential as its axes. And in this case it needs to be a 9-box, so a 3x3 box. Once you've done that, it says to run the report and follow the rest of the instructions that are on the compound layout. So let's go through that. If I now save this report as a new name, I'll just put my initials on the front of it and save that away. It then says to update the filter on the Criteria tab. So if I move to the Criteria tab, at the moment the filter isn't set to anything in particular. You need to choose your meeting. So I'm going to click on the Edit option and I'm going to go through and find the talent review meeting I'm interested in, which is the 2014 example. Once I've updated that filter, if I now come to the Results tab, then I'll see the data for my particular talent review meeting. Now we can see here the basic structure of the report that we're going to create, and we just have to update some of the labels in order for it to show the exact setup that you've created for your own talent review meetings. But before I go through the rest of the instructions to tailor this report, I'm just going to briefly switch to the talent review itself within Fusion so we can see where this data is coming from. You'll notice the numbers I've got on the performance tiles here, showing 1s along the bottom, then 163 and then 131 as the results of this talent review meeting. If I switch to that same review meeting and have a look at it, you can see here that same information displayed in the standard talent review screen. So 1s across the bottom, 163 and then 131. You can also see within the talent review how it picks up the box labels that you specify in the template. And that's the thing that we need to do next in the report, is to get the performance tiles to be called the same as these labels. Now in order to do that, what we need to do is to update the name and description of each of the performance tiles. And to make this more straightforward, on the right hand side here is a bar chart which shows you for the particular box sequence number what the label is for this particular talent review template. So number 1 needs to be misaligned talent. So to update that, all I have to do is go to the pencil icon, and here we can see the performance tile, and then I simply uncheck the measure name and put in misaligned talent. If I want to, I can put a description in here, or I can just remove the whole description altogether. So in my case, I'm just going to repeat the name just to show you the idea of how we could do this. When I finish that particular tile, I can click on Done. I need to repeat that for each of the boxes. Okay, so I've almost completed updating the boxes now. I've just got the last one, box sequence 9, which is top talent. I change this one in exactly the same way. So mine's top talent, and again, for example's sake, I'm just going to put the same name into the description. Just to mention that if you don't like the colours that the boxes are, it's very straightforward to change those. Within each of the performance tiles, you can just come up to the performance tiles properties box, and here on the background you can specify your own colours. You can actually do conditional formatting as well based on specific values if you want to. So I've now completed updating the names and descriptions for each of my performance tiles, and we can see here the display is starting to look complete. The next step actually requires me to delete the graph view from the layout, because I no longer need that, because I've now used the information that it was providing me with about the labels. So to delete that, I can simply click on the cross. It then says delete this narrative from the view. So again, I can come up here and click on the cross, and my report is now complete. If I now choose to save the report, I can have a look at one of the other features that's available with this report. So if I go back to my catalogue, we can see here is my new report. If I now choose to open the report, then again the first thing it asks me to do is to pick the talent review meeting I'm interested in. Just to remind you, it must use performance and potential as the axes, and you can select more than one provided they're using the same template. If I pick my 2014 talent review meeting and click on OK, then the report runs. I now have a 9-box layout of the output of that talent review meeting, and a box at the bottom showing me how many employees were held in the holding area. Now for each of these boxes, again what we can do is we can click on the number, and then we can drill to see the employees that ended up in this particular box for this particular talent review meeting. So here we can see it's passed across the fact that it was the 2014 talent review meeting and the fact that it was in that particular box. And here are my 6 employees. So hopefully this report and the technique for creating it will be useful in terms of helping you create and produce your own reports on talent review meetings.